Hello, welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl as we take a look at some more Warhammer The Old World stuff. And we've got 5 of the 9 core factions now with a proper release. With that, I thought we'd take a look at the battalion boxes, the army boxes, take a look at their price, what savings you get with the box, and what points you get in the box, and sort of compare that across the board and see how they stack up. Is there any consistency and so on? So, really useful when you're looking at, what army do you want to start? And is the main, battalion box, almost the starter box, a good one to go for? So let's take a look and see how each army stacks up. So first off, we have Bretonnia. So Bretonnia only have a core set battalion. So basically it's a larger box. It's almost kind of a mini army in a box. It does come with a rule book. It does come with some measuring sticks and some dice and so on. So slightly different from a regular battalion, but that's all they've got. Therefore, your buy-in is $265 US. With that, you do get a Lord on Pegasus. $65. You get 12 mounted Knights of the Realm, which is $65 for 12, and that's of course based upon individual ones. You get 36 men at arms. They would be $85 if you bought it separately. You get 24 peasant bowmen, but you can only buy them in boxes of 36. That would be $85 for 36. You get 3 Pegasus Knights, which is $65 for 3, and then you get 1 rule book, which is worth $70. So when you take all of that into account, your core set cost you $265 to buy, but the total value in the box is $435 worth of stuff, and that doesn't include the dice and the templates, but to be honest, you can pick that up for next to nothing in a lot of places. So overall, you get a total saving of $170, or essentially a 39% discount. That's a pretty good discount for Games Workshop. Bearing in mind they don't do sales and stuff normally. So as a box bundle, that's pretty good. In terms of your points value in the box, what I've done here is I've taken the base points for each, right? So it's the base points, and where you've got a unit, it's the base points, including the command group. There's no magic items or anything else in there. So you could probably eke out in most of these boxes a little bit more in Bretonnia and Tomb Kings because they got characters in, but with magic items, magic standards, you've probably got another couple of 100 points worth in there. But total point value there in the box is 1,028 points. So again, not a bad place to be. So when you take a look at that core set, you've got a main lord in there. That's great. You've got some bowmen. You've got some infantry. Bretonnia infantry not the best, but you do have 2 units of 6 cavalry. That can be pretty good. You can see the way they split that up. This is actually not a bad place to start. It's not a box you're going to buy more than once. I can't see much benefit unless you're going for some massive army and having 24 mounted Knights of the Realm. 6 Pegasus Knights, always good, but, and the Lord on Pegasus, do you really need another 36 men at arms having already got 36? So, it's not bad, but I would probably suggest that this is a good place to start, but buying it again, probably not the best. You certainly don't want another $70 rule book. You can buy it and then try and eBay some of that stuff off or something, but that takes time and everything else. You're probably not going to get your full value back. So overall, I think it's a great box. It's a great place to start. It's a really good saving. It's a really nice sort of starting army, a good core for Bretonnia. So absolutely worth it, but it is quite a big investment at the start, right? $265. Okay, let's take a look at the dwarfs. Now, the dwarfs come with a standard battalion, so you don't get any of the rule book or measuring sticks or anything like that in there. It's purely just miniatures. In that, you do get 2 gyrocopters, which is $80 for 2 if you bought them separately. 32 dwarf warriors, that would be $85 for 36. So you get 32, but if you bought a box, you get 36, okay? You get 32 Dwarf Thunderers, which could also be made as Quarrelers, and that's normally $85 for 36. So again, they've given you 32, but you get a box for 36 in. So in terms of your standard battalion, it currently costs $185 to buy that battalion box. The total value in the box is $250, and that gives you a total saving of $65 or 26%. So not quite as good as the saving that you get from the Bretonnian box by quite an amount. But still, you're saving quarter of the value of the box, which is not bad. In terms of points, if we take the gyrocopters, which you can build them as gyro bombers, which are more expensive, that's 190 points, plus your dwarf warriors, and then thunderers, which are more expensive than quarrelers. Again, taking no magic standards or anything like that, that would give you a total points in the box at 796 points. Now, of all of the battalion boxes, the dwarves is actually one I could see somebody buying twice if they're going for a big army. Having another 2 gyrocopters and or gyro bomber, absolutely. Dwarf thunderers / quarrelers, great units, great to fill up core. I could absolutely see somebody wanting another 32, and I say we're talking about going for like a 2,500 point army plus, right, or 3,000 point army at this point. Very good. Probably the worst thing in the box is the warriors, but there's lots of things you can do with warriors, lots of things you can kit bash with the warriors. So again, getting those warriors, more of them, and having 60 warriors, you could have or 64 warriors, 2 units of 30, or you could do something like that with them. I think of all the boxes, this is the one box that I would go, yeah, somebody going for a big army could buy 2 of these and get good value from it. Okay. Right, next up, orcs and goblins, right? So again, standard battalion, so no rules, no measuring sticks or nothing. They come with 2 orc boar chariots. That's normally $85 for 2. You get 31 orc boys. That's normally $85 for 38. And you get 40 goblins, which is normally $85 for 40. So that works. Now, at the same price as the dwarf standard battalion, your total value in the box is $255, so you get a saving of $70 or 27%. And with rounding up and down, it's pretty much identical saving to the dwarves. It's pretty consistent. I think the big thing here is the fact that your total points in the box is incredibly low. That's predominantly down to the fact that goblins are pretty cheap. There's no characters in here. You're not going to significantly increase that number of points with magic items or anything. So yes, you've got, again, a pretty good saving, but your points in the box is pretty low. Given the fact you've got 2 boar chariots in there, I can't really see the fact you'd want another 2. This overall makes the box unattractive. Personally as well, for me, and this is very much a personal thing, I prefer night goblins over regular goblins. So again, would I want another 40 and have 80 regular goblins? I think there's better things in the book. I mean, of all the boxes, this is the one where I go, I'm the least interested, and I do have orc and goblins. So yeah, overall the boxes, this is the one I like the least, just in terms of the contents. I certainly wouldn't buy it again, but it is absolutely consistent with your cost saving, but you do get quite a lot less points for it, right? Only 500 points in this box. So orc and goblins, not my favourite battalion at all. Right, next up is the Tomb Kings. And again, like Bretonnia, they came out at the same time. This is a core set battalion. So essentially that comes with the rulebook, the measuring sticks and everything else, and therefore is significantly more expensive, and you get a lot more in the box. The difference here is that the Bretonnian one is a buy-in at $265, whereas the Tomb Kings cost a whopping $299 as your starter box. So that is a big buy-in for a lot of people. But there's quite a lot of stuff in the box, so you have to be fair in terms of, that if you look at the content there, that's a pretty sizable force you get in there. So, but let's see how it actually stacks up. So what do you get? You get a Tomb King on a Bone Dragon, who could also be built as a priest on a Bone Dragon, and depending which one you build, you get the other character on foot. So you do get that additional character in there. So you've got 2 characters in that box, which is pretty nice. You get 40 Skeleton Warriors. That's pretty good. Good core troops for the Tomb Kings. You get 32 Skeleton Archers. The interesting thing is you get 40 Skeleton Warriors, and it would be $85 for 36. You kind of get 4 more there, but you get 32 Skeleton Archers, which is normally $85 for 36. So, yeah, kind of balances out a little bit. But Skeleton Archers, again, not a bad thing to have in your army. The Skeleton Horsemen there, $65 for 16. Not the biggest fan of Skeleton Horsemen. Certainly, I wouldn't personally build them with the bows if I do have them. But they do have 16 Skeleton Horsemen. Probably the weakest thing in the book for me, or the thing that I like the least in this box. You've got 3 Skeleton Chariots there. Chariots pretty cool. I do like chariots, particularly if you're running multiple of them. That's normally $85 for 3. And of course, you do get the main rule book in there, which is worth $70. So what do you get in terms of a saving for your $300 buy-in? Well, the total value in the box there is $560. And that gives you a total saving of $261, or 47%. So while this is the biggest buy-in box, it does offer the biggest saving. Almost a 50% saving. Almost a 50% saving. Now, in terms of, are you going to buy this box more than once? Probably not. Even if you're going for a big army, the big thing here is, do you really want another Bone Dragon when you've got things like your Necro Sphinx, your War Sphinx, and stuff like that in the army? Probably don't want 2 Bone Dragons, right? You also, do you really want another 16 Skeleton Horsemen, even if you're building a big army? Again, probably not. If you're going for sort of mobile cavalry, you might be looking at Necropolis Knights, Sepulchral Stalkers, that sort of thing. So again, like most of the other boxes, I can't really see a case where you'd really want to buy this box again. Even if you were vested into selling off all the rule book and stuff that you didn't need 2 of. For me, I don't see any reason to buy this twice. When we take a look at the total points in the box, you do get 1,186 points in the box, which is about 100 points more than the Bretonnian one. Tomb Kings tend to coming up a bit cheaper than those Knights of the Realm and the Duke on the Pegasus, but still, when you've got 2 characters in there, you add in a bunch of magic items. It's probably, if you made that a High Priest and a Tomb King, you got another 200 points of magic items plus magic standard, that sort of thing. You probably got another 200 to 250 points. You wouldn't be far off a 1,500 point army. It wouldn't take much to get there. So overall, I think it's a pretty decent starter set, I have to say. If you give this to a player and get him to put it on the table and play against the Bretonnian starter set, I think they would be pretty good together. And they're not too far apart. The big thing with these core sets is that high buy-in cost, which means it's not really an impulse buy. It's not someone going, I really want to get into Warhammer The Old World, or I'm just going to go get a starter box, which is a bit of a shame, because it means it's quite difficult just to get into the hobby in that way, right? Or into this particular part of the Games Workshop hobby. So overall, good box, great savings. The content, pretty good for a first start. The Skeleton Horseman being the worst bit for me. Okay, and then the final one, which also happens to be the newest one, and with the weekend that's recently gone, we've now got the release of the Chariots and the Knights, so we can actually get a proper set of costings for everything when you buy it individually. So again, standard battalion, exactly the same as the Orcs and the and Goblins and the Dwarves. So $185, so exactly the same cost. You do get 2 Chaos Chariots, that's normally $84 for 2, 10 Chaos Knights, which is $84 for 10, and 32 Chaos Warriors, which is $84 for 40. So your total value in the box is $252 and gives you a total saving of $67 or 27%. So you can see Dwarves, Orcs and Goblins, Warriors of Chaos all give you that flat 26, 27%, and that's all in the rounding, right? Rounding up, rounding down. So absolutely consistent in the savings they give you. However, in terms of points, by their very nature, Warriors of Chaos are expensive. The miniatures in the box are actually Chaos Warriors, so they are the more expensive of the infantry, whereas you look at the Bretonnia with the men-at-arms, you look at the Dwarves with Dwarven Warriors, they are not as elite in the same way, and the Orcs even more so, right? Whereas the Chaos Warriors are the more elite version of their infantry compared to Marauders, so they carry a higher points cost. All right, so in terms of the total points in the Chaos Warrior box, 942 points for $184. So, and this is all comparison in Games Workshop. I'm not going to get into the expense of Games Workshop stuff compared to other companies. We're just comparing it with other Games Workshop stuff, right? Or overall. And I think 942 points, this is a great value box, right? I'm not particularly partial to chariots, right? Except where I can have units like the Tomb Kings ones. So, I'm not particularly partial to that, but this is not a bad place to start. I mean, 32 Chaos Warriors, they're great. You're going to want plenty of Chaos Warriors without a doubt. You're going to want Chaos Knights without a doubt. But you've got the 2 Chariots in there. And again, for me, are you going to buy this box again? No, because I wouldn't want another 2 Chariots, right? And that's going to be the case. And I think it's absolutely done deliberately, right? I think that's the interesting thing with the Dwarf one, because I quite happily have more Gyrocopters, but I don't want more Orc Boar Chariots, and I don't want more Chaos Chariots. So there's definitely, you're going to get a good saving if you're starting the faction or you don't have these miniatures. This is a good way to get them if you want them all. But in terms of, is this going to be a repeat buy and you're going to get that multiple saving? Absolutely not. So for me, if you didn't want the Chariots and you still bought this, again, unless you're going to be able to split it with somebody and sell them off, the Chariots cost $84, but your actual savings $67, right? So that makes no sense to buy it for the remaining models in the box. So that's my view on Warriors of Chaos. I think all of the boxes offer pretty good value for what they are. The higher you buy in, the bigger the saving you get. I think the Tomb King saving's excellent. I think the Dwarf box is the one that I would buy more than one of. It's the only one that I would personally consider buying more than one of as a solo person, and say it doesn't take into account people splitting boxes and stuff like that. But in terms of points per value, clearly the Warriors of Chaos giving you excellent points per value. When you consider that the Tomb King's core box is $299, so nearly $300. So that's $115 more, but you only get another 200 points in the box. So Warriors of Chaos, great points per value. But that tends to be the army as a whole. It's generally going to be a smaller army. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it cleared up in terms of, for a lot of people, what's in these Battalion boxes, how they stack up against each other, what the savings are, and what points values you get in the box. And I say, please bear in mind, they are base point values, as in the points value of the model with the command group, and no magic items and so on. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And as always, if you want to see more content, please do hit that subscribe button. It's a huge deal for me, so thank you for that in advance. And if you want to see more content, there is more content coming. We've got this short gap of short videos before we get into our High Elf Realms faction focus. You've been watching The Ghost Owl. I'll see you all very, very soon.